Hey, good morning, everyone. So it's the first day of the SEMA Show, and for the first time here with Hemmings, we're actually going to show you around and walk around this show a little bit. Every morning we're going to do this, show you around how everything looks here at the SEMA Show, and we're going to do it behind the scenes before 9 a.m., which is when the rest of the crowd's able to walk in. We're going to get here, it's about 8:30 a.m. We're going to walk this thing, and you're going to basically see industry people getting the shows ready, getting their booths ready. We're going to take a look at some of the cars before the hordes come in and just take over everything. You'll see that stuff too, but we want to get a little bit of a walk around before the rest of the crowd showed up, and turns into 6 deep at the bar. So let's walk down this way, and we'll start looking at some cars. So a little bit of background. So there's 3 halls here at SEMA. Each one, there's north, central, and south, and each one of these halls, and we're in central right now, each one of these halls is about 63 billion square feet and 47 square miles. That's what it feels like when we're done. By the time we're all out of here, we all have those pedometer things. We walk like 137,000 miles square in this thing. So let's talk off here. It's a great example of what's happening right now with SEMA and in the industry where vintage 4x4s and SUVs are really the big deal. 10 years ago, this would have been Chrysler 300s and donks and that kind of thing. Now, it's vintage SUVs and trucks. This stuff is cool, and especially things like these old FJs. If you take a look at all the great stuff here, look at that paint, right? I'm not even sure if that's actual paint or just some sort of coating, but this stuff is cool. And another thing to notice here with these trucks, a lot of these wheel choices that they're making now, it's no longer the billet directionals and things like that. Now, this is more like steel wheels, something that must have looked at one point like stock, but these are what, 18-inch wheels? Yeah, these are 18s now, which wouldn't have been stock on this thing. These are custom-made wheels to look stock. That's a whole new thing that's going on right now, too, and this is pretty cool. And those caps and everything, those poverty caps, that's really like the big style that we're seeing this year, more than we've seen in the past 2 or 3 years. So this is a real good example of what's happening. Okay, on the other end of the spectrum, check this thing out. People would call this normally like a rat rod or something like that. This is a 59, this is based on a 59 Chevy that's been cut up into this thing. Is it a hot rod? Is it a custom? Kind of hard to tell. I don't even know if you could really categorize it in any sort of way, but really they took, as you can see, they took a 59 Chevy and really cut the thing up, made it a whole lot smaller, and turned it into this. It's got basically all the underpinnings and all the body work of that 59 Chevy, but now it's turned into what he calls radical, R-A-T-I-C-A-L. But as you can see here, they did a good job here, and the craftsmanship and the quality of work here is really well done. But as you can also tell, it's an acquired taste. It's not something for everybody, but it's definitely more of what we're seeing like in the last 5-8 years. Let's keep walking. As we're walking around, you're going to see more of this. You can kind of see the crews getting ready. They're actually, a lot of people are still polishing cars. They're getting stuff unloaded. They've got cars under covers ready to go. You're going to see a lot more guys having like meetings and things like this. But this is exactly what a big part of the show is behind the scenes. You guys are seeing this is what goes on up until 9 a.m., right till the moment that people show up and start, just hoarding all these cars and stuff. This is a great example over here, too, of what's happening in the power adder scene, right? So supercharging and turbos have always been a big deal. These days, the centrifugal blower and Paxton has always been one of the early sort of like brands around blowers and superchargers, power adders, that kind of stuff. These centrifugal blowers are really where it's at right now across the industry, because supercharging, while it's big and so are turbos, no longer do you see a whole lot of like the 871s, the 671s, the roots type blowers sticking through hoods. That's more of a nostalgic thing now. For a lot of power and keeping it all under the hood, this scene is where it's at. Transmissions, lots of aftermarket parts. This is what everyone shows up here for anyway, right? So we're getting to see all the new what's happening now in adapters and transmission adapters, engine blocks. Let's take a look at this truck over here. I think it's a 65. I think this is a 65 Chevy, but check this thing out. Trucks, Chevy trucks especially. 60s, then the square bodies, 67 to 72. These things are right on this year. Look at that interior and stuff. Like a lot of these things are bigger and better now than ever before. We're seeing much more of these kinds of trucks at SEMA. The past 3-4 years, the square bodies have become a huge thing, but these mid-60s trucks, these things are always cool. Let's keep going over here. Take a look at this thing. So what's cool about this is the aftermarket is now making all kinds of stuff for these things. Look at the size of the wheels under this deal. Where there's like 28s or something like that, insane. But what's really cool about this too is look at that patina like that and the shine on this thing. They actually, what looks like they actually kept the original paint on it and then just polished it. Whether or not it's original doesn't even really matter. But the fact that it's that patinaed look, but that's a finished truck, that's what we've been seeing for the last couple of years. It's cool. It's always good. I think that question between restoration or customization really starts to blend here when they actually do like a wild, radical suspension and wheel and tire combo on something like this. I'm sure the motor's the same way, but they keep the original, what looks like the original paint. Very cool truck. Let's keep working. This thing that we're going to come up on is really close to my heart. The car we're going to see is a tribute that was built to what was called the Uncertain T in 1963-64. A guy named Steve Scott built a show car that really kind of set the show car world on its ear back then. The guy only built one car. Most of the time, if you were like a custom car guy, you'd build one, then you'd build another, and you'd build a reputation around this. Steve Scott only ever built the one car, and then he was done. He never did it again. And the car disappeared, long since, not forgotten, but long since wondering where it went. No one knows what happened to the car itself. A couple people have done clones of the thing. They've built, what look like weird tribute cars, but this thing is the closest thing we've seen yet. Look at this. This is crazy. This is the first time I'm laying my eyes on it. So, is this yours? It's his. Yeah. Hey, I'm Dan Stoner with Hemmings. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Steve told me all about you.
Really? Yeah, right.
I'm good friends with him.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah. And I talked to him yesterday, and he said, if you get there, take pictures. Oh, I've known Steve for 12 years now.
Really?
Yeah. I found him in Hawaii when no one had known where Steve was. No one knew where the car was. Right. And in 2007, 2006, I found him in Hawaii. And when I called him and I asked him about it, and he said, yeah, I'm not Steve Scott. I said, you're the one? You're the one? He goes, you found me? And at that point, no one had known where he was at that point.
No, because he went underground.
He went underground, that's right. He's been kind of exiled in Hawaii for 20, 30, 25 years now or something like that. But he told me to actually take pictures of this thing.
Well, I've been keeping under the radar.
I think so, because no one knew that you did it.
Been 7 years.
7 years it took you to do this thing?
So this has been a real bender to try and, because I'm trying to reverse engineer everything the same, but make it.
So it's something that you can actually drive on the street at home.
It drives and backs.
Legally, and still be true to the car, right? So that's what, but it drives, right? Okay. Illegal, man.
No, it will be.
We have to go in front of it with a wad load of money.
I told you, we have to do that here. I have to do that here with my car. No, this is amazing. You guys, this thing is great. This is really cool. Isn't that amazing? This thing is absolutely gorgeous. It's the closest thing I've seen to the real car ever since. So here's another big scene at the SEMA Show. This is a whole nother category, just off-road, trophy trucks, Baja racing. This is a huge part of the industry right now. And when I say huge, what I'm talking about are things like suspension and shocks that cost like $16 million a piece, this kind of stuff. These kinds of trucks are really a big deal. They're obviously not street driven, but a lot of you guys can build stuff that are similar to this, maybe less in scope and size, but they can build something like this and go like sandrail running or off-roading, that kind of stuff. Okay, let's walk over here. I want to show you another car. So one of our partners is Condé Nast Entertainment, and Condé Nast Entertainment's basically a production company, and the production company actually put on a show called Fastest Car on Netflix. If you've ever seen it, in the very first season, you'll remember the Lunch Money Garage truck. This thing is actually hand-built and driven by a kid in a wheelchair. He had an accident when he was a teenager, fell off a hand railing backwards, I think dropped about 10, 12 feet, and was paralyzed from the waist down. He built this truck on his own, and he runs it with his wheelchair. He actually has brought this thing back now. I think it's a 27 Dodge body, and now he's repowered it with this thing. This is absolutely crazy. A twin turbo LS. Absolutely amazing. I haven't seen Corey yet this year. I'm sure he'll be around, but this thing actually has built a cult of personality all of its own right now. I'm a huge fan of Corey's. He did a great job on the show, and now this thing is absolutely out of control. And he drives the thing like a bat out of hell anyway, so it's cool to see this back again. He was here last year. Like to see him again this year. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so as we keep walking, you're going to see more and more of these companies. Like here's another one, like ProCharger. Again, sort of like they came in after Paxton. They came around in the mid '90s, but ProCharger has been building a lot of these centrifugal superchargers to the point now where they've really become a market leader. It's cool stuff. Take a look at these things. Look at it. Look at the size of that supercharger hanging off the front of this thing. Whoever says that right now isn't the glory days of muscle cars and power is crazy, because what you can actually buy these days and make 1,200, 1,500 horsepower, you can do it on a credit card. It's the most amazing period of time right now for the automotive aftermarket, I think, and this kind of stuff is just, the fact that you can actually own something like this really is a mind blower. Let's keep going. We're finally getting closer to the Hemmings booth. So here we are in Central Hall, like I said, and we're surrounded by the rest of the actual exhibitors in what they call Hot Rod Alley. Now, Hot Rod Alley is called that for a reason. Look at some of the stuff that we can actually buy these days, some of the things that we can actually like feature in Hemmings, and some of the aftermarket parts that we're going to be actually using on some of our own builds in 2020. You're going to be seeing a lot more of this. We actually have a '76 Chevy Blazer that we're going to start building. We've got some stuff on the West Coast we're working on. A lot of surprises with Hemmings that people have never seen before. So a lot of these brands and vendors are going to be contributing to the cars we're building. Look at this '57 Chevy here. This thing is bad. If that doesn't get you going, I don't know what does. You gotta get the fingerprints off of it. You gotta get the fingerprints off it. Good to see you, man. How are you?
Great.
How do you feel this year about the show? It's
Well,
not
I
started
don't know.
yet, but
How can I tell
it's
you?
only the first morning.
Uh-huh.
But
Well, I'm feeling positive about it, right?
you've been here since Sunday?
I've been here since 1990.
Oh my God. That's the best answer yet. This is really cool.
So we sell the crate engine, complete crate engine package, but we also sell the intake systems.
And okay. And so is this part of the kit as well? The entire
intake,
the whole
as far as
intake.
the intake system or the whole crate engine?
The intake system first. Is that, or it's all one?
You can buy either way. So the intake system comes with the intake, the fuel injection.
Okay.
It doesn't come with a throttle body. This is assuming you have a crate engine already.
Okay.
Or you're going to buy. So it's a GM throttle body.
Very cool.
It uses Holley EFI system to run all the electronics. So
Got
it's
it.
all modern stuff, but just looks.
But it
looks
has the
finished.
vintage look to it, right?
Absolutely.
That's the cool
Absolutely.
part about it, right?
And that's about the coolest
it's
fuel injection anybody ever had.
it looks like
from
a
day one.
cast. It looks like an original cast unit, right?
Yeah,
Which has
that's the idea, man.
old cast aluminum stuff has like soul to it,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Oh, yeah,
where
yeah.
billet doesn't, I think.
yeah.
So seeing old cast stuff like this on new applications is really cool, especially those valve covers to match.
cool.
It's
Yeah,
really
bolt on
badass. Okay, we're walking back down to the Hemmings booth now. So for the first time, the second or third year, we've actually had redesigned our booth. And now you're going to see a lot more coming from us this week. We've got a couple activations, what the industry calls activations. We just call them like cool like car reveals. We got a couple cool car reveals coming. So we're going to show more of that to you this week. Stay with us this week.'re going to see more of our breakfast in the mornings here at Walking the Show. It's about 9 a.m. now, so a lot of people are going to start showing up. So we're going to sign off for right now, but we'll be back a little bit later. Talk to you later.